Previously on Kenji Martial Arts. Lol, just kidding, it's me, Kieran. This next video will be a continuation of what we covered last time. If you didn't watch the last video on the theory of power of Taekwondo, click the link in the description and watch the first one. But if you've watched that and are absolutely ecstatic for the second one, please continue. Number 5 on this list is reaction force. For every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. In Taekwondo terms, pulling one hand back to the hip or the other hand moves forwards and strikes. In karate this is called hikite, the pulling hand, or as I prefer, the grappling hand. Now in Taekwondo this is meant to generate power by pulling an empty hand back to your hip while sending the other hand out to strike. Whenever I learnt this, they always mentioned Sir Isaac Newton due to his work in physics. And they'd always put this really weird example to do with car crashes in it. Now, I'm not a scientist, except when it comes to martial arts. Or vodka. I'm a martial artist. And in karate, this is the pulling hand, the grappling hand. Grab with one hand, strike with the other, cause that damage. We can do this sort of thing all day with proprioception, making contact and keeping contact, much like the sticking hand principles found in Chinese martial arts. So I must disagree. Reaction force like this? It's not a thing that works. Number 6 is speed. Once again, this is very, very important. If you can strike your opponent before they do in a sparring match, that scores you the point. Or if you strike someone preemptively in a self-protection situation, that means you've got a better chance of getting out of there. However, that is on the condition that your strike is effective enough and contains body weight behind it. Body weight. Now that sounds kind of familiar, but I can't quite place it. I'ma Google it. So yes, number 6 gets my approval. Number 7 is sine wave. Now sine wave is the mathematical term for this wavy line. Thing go up, thing go down, thing go up, thing go down, thing go up. Now this line is meant to denote the up and down movement that someone's meant to follow as they execute a technique. Now honestly, I can't see how this sort of thing would help generate power. Now movements similar to this are used all the time in throwing. Lower your weight, get your hips lower than your opponent's, attach, and rise and put them into the ground. However, in terms of generating force for a strike, I honestly don't see how this could actually work. Even when I used to train in Taekwondo, this sort of movement was never used outside solo pattern work. So even in sparring or hitting pads, this was never heard of. So I'm afraid this one definitely doesn't get my seal of approval. So equilibrium, mass, breath control and speed all get my approval. Concentration, meh, gets marks for effort, but is a bit impractical. Now, like Dio, I outright reject reaction force and sine wave. I'm sorry, but practical martial arts did not go through years of development to be told that pulling a hand back to your hip can generate power. It's used to grapple simply as. Since Taekwondo is heavily based off Shotokan karate, you'd think they might try to keep things a bit more traditional. Well, obviously not. Now sine wave, like I said before, can be used for throwing, but it does absolutely nothing for striking. Whilst you can spend your time winding yourself up for this big sine wave, your opponent could just move forward quickly and spark you in your jaw. Sine wave just takes too long. Now when I learned this is what I was told the theory actually does. You're not going to believe this. But when the theory is applied fully and correctly, you can, and I quote, generate 4 times your body weight in power. So if you weigh 100 kilos and do the theory, your punches in theory could have 400 kilograms worth of power and body weight behind them. Okay, I've gone through and I've analysed this theory using my martial experience, including 8 years in very traditional Taekwondo. So in conclusion, whilst there might be some truth to this theory, We can study it, we can break it apart, reorganise it, add new things into it, take things away. But by the time we've done that, we've missed so much time we could have actually spent hitting things and actually being able to generate power through our actual movements and physicality rather than thinking about it. By doing this, we miss time that we could have spent training and developing hard-hitting strikes, which may or may not have included the 7 above. Personally, I think this theory ends up distracting the individual practitioner. It makes them focus on too many things at the same time. And some of these things aren't even helpful. They're dangerous. The best way to get someone to hit hard is to help practice them hitting hard. It doesn't have to be rocket science. Move with the right body mechanics in tow and focus on the physical act of hitting and striking hard. Don't try to theorise with incorrect physics and then end up wasting time. This can end up being very distracting. Bruce Lee said, if you want to swim, jump in water. So if you want to hit hard, get out there and do it. Make adjustments where you need to, but it really doesn't have to be that complicated. But then again, this is just my analysis. Try these things out for yourself. Or if you already do, in what circumstances have you successfully used these? Does reaction force, the empty hikate, actually help? The practical martial arts community generally disagrees on that. If your instructor or your organisation practices and promotes things like these, then at what point do you actually practice them? In sparring, in self-protection scenario training, in hitting pads, or like me where it was only ever restricted to solo practice? Now if you do use or believe in these, have you ever questioned their validity? Do these elements actually make sense to you? Ask these questions to your instructors, your peers, your organisation. Then ask outside your group. Visit other clubs and combat gyms, or even just in YouTube videos. What are other people's ideas of being able to generate force behind strikes? And in the end, come to your own conclusion. Anyway, that's all from me for today. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please like, comment down below on what you think is needed to help generate strong and powerful strikes. Or alternatively, if you agree with the above, challenge me. Where are there holes in my analysis? I mean, personally, I'm not going to change my view, but you're welcome to try. Also, don't forget to subscribe, hit me up on Insta, and of course, I wish you all the best with your training. Take care.